with that in mind, with the structure of the framework programme in mind, I'm going to talk a bit about some tips for both planning and writing your proposals once you've decided what parts of the framework programme you'd be interested in. So when we look at the kind of key novelties of Horizon Europe compared to Horizon 2020, we see a few kind of big strategic changes that perhaps don't matter so much for individual applications, but are worth keeping in mind perhaps when you're deciding what to apply for. I've spoken a few times about the greater focus on the innovation. You can certainly see that the Commission is trying to be more welcoming and give a better evaluation to proposals that are focused on innovation and have a more innovative aspect to it. One thing I haven't touched on so far is the portfolio approach to topic design, which is something that we see in the European Innovation Council and also in these missions that are starting now to release topics and calls for proposals. This portfolio approach is where the Commission looks at what they have already funded under a certain topic and tries to target the evaluation of proposals under that topic in future years to complete their portfolio of research that they're funding. It's hard for us to say exactly what this means on an application-to-application basis, but to me, understanding that the Commission is looking to have a kind of entire portfolio of projects that address topics and challenges in quite a holistic way, that to me says that it's even more important to have a kind of unique selling point to your consortium, to be very clear about what your specific angle on tackling a topic is, to give you a better chance of fitting into their portfolios. In terms of the kind of key operative changes, there's some stuff here that will make a difference when you're writing and planning your applications. Firstly, the application form is significantly shorter. The standard form is 45 pages as opposed to 60 to 75. And they have a new approach to impact. They're more pedagogical when it comes to talking you through exactly what information they expect you to provide when it comes to describing the outcomes and the impacts of your proposal. And they also have simpler requirements for implementation. You no longer need to provide big management structures, and you don't need to talk so much about the consortium as a whole. There's a reduced emphasis on that. It's very much about having the right team in place, the right consortium, and also having really well described and clear work packages, dividing up your work. One thing you may also have heard of is an increased focus on the gender dimension, which is now explicitly evaluated under the excellence criteria of the grant application. This is the case for most schemes, most but not all schemes under Horizon Europe. And this increased focus on the gender dimension is the Commission asking you to think beyond just what the gender composition of your teams are, exactly how many PIs you have of both genders, but also how your proposals, impacts and outcomes will affect gender in a wider, more holistic way. So a kind of classic example of this is if you were sending in an application proposing a new chemical process for manufacturing. The gender dimension for that would not be just about the PIs that you have on your team and the composition of the people you're employing. It would be about if this chemical process works and was perhaps more efficient but more technologically demanding, that could lead to a change in the workplace downstream from your proposal. So if that becomes taken up in industry, there will be a higher demand for more skilled workers, people with degrees who might skew, who would have a different gender representation, a different gender balance to traditional blue-collar workers who may have done that work before. So you're looking to think down the line and think in a holistic way about how your research and the outcomes of your research will affect the gender balance in Europe, not just within your own group. You may also heard that ultimate in science is now mandatory on all applications. You can't opt out of it, and that is also explicitly evaluated during the evaluation process. So you need to be thinking about how you're going to make your results open and accessible from the very beginning. The Commission is using more lump sum funding, so this is something you might see pop up where the Commission provides all the funding in a single chunk and pays it out as you hit certain milestones. There are still not that many schemes using lump sum funding, though there are some, and there are more and more coming. I think it's very practical from the Commission's side, so they're certainly interested in increasing it. And there is also, in some selected schemes now, an opportunity to respond to reviewers, where you receive the feedback and you have a week or so to provide a written rebuttal to the comments that you've received on your proposal. We have experience of this with the European Innovation Council, with the Pathfinder Open projects. And if you do apply for something where you have the opportunity to respond to reviewers, I would not get your hopes up too high. This is an opportunity for you to kind of correct misunderstandings and gross conceptual errors on the behalf of the reviewers. It can still be very hard to change someone's perception of your application as a whole by responding to specific technical concerns that they may have about your proposal. So, keep your expectations in check, but it is a straight positive for you as applicants that you can respond and correct misconceptions and technical errors on the part of reviewers. This is something that you often get recommended to do quite early in your career, but I find it very useful for these big collaborative projects as well, is writing a one-page proposal to help you refine your project idea. I think when it comes to big European consortia-driven collaborative projects, it can be very easy to get kind of lost in the details, lost in the kind of the technical details of all the impacts and outcomes and different things that you need to address according to the topic, and lose sight of what your unique selling point is and what the core of your consortium and your idea is all about. And I think having a one-page project proposal where you try to make your concrete idea and the key members of your consortium really complete and really concrete can be really helpful in keeping you on track and making sure that evaluators get making sure that the core and the unique selling points of your project come through to the evaluators. This can also, at quite an early stage, help you identify blind spots, help you identify the parts of the consortium that your project is missing, the types of questions in the topic that you can't address at the moment, and what you need to do to address those. And this can also help you build a consortium. You have a really good group here, which you can help look for key partners, which is the important thing when building a stable base to put an application together, a team of key partners who can plan and lead the writing and the building of the proposal. It's important that even at consortium building stage, you're steered by the topic description itself, so that you have the right stakeholders and the right groups to help you disseminate and to make sure that you're hitting key stakeholders and key partners in industry that is relevant to the topic itself. And you want to make sure that, as I'm sure you know already, that your consortium has complementary expertise, covers a wide geographical area, and complements each other very nicely. This is also something that you can ask for advice on, and I recommend doing this. Having someone else look at your list of consortium members compared to the topic text, and figure out what you're missing, if you're kind of good to go, or if there's some key holes that you need to address.